So it looks like our first game on board one is Ronan versus Nate. Let's start from the beginning, as always. So Ronan decided to play knight f3. Nate likes d5, which is fine. d4. This is now just a regular knight f3. You can play a lot of stuff after this. Nate plays an immediate c5, and then you went for London. Pawn takes, queen takes, knight c6 makes sense. Queen a4 is theory, f6. I feel like C3 is a bit of an inaccuracy, but it could be some theory I'm unaware of. E5, bishop back, bishop D6 makes sense. Knight B to D2. E4 takes, queen takes, knight D4. Everything is within opening principles. There, a question here might have been, is E3 a possibility? You always have to look at stuff like that. Because if e3 pawn takes f5, that kind of looks a bit scary. Um, with the dark squared weaknesses and that bishop on f1 not getting out, but knight on g to e7 is fine. Pawn to e3, castles, takes, pawn takes because you want to take towards the center and defend your pawn. Rook d1, f5, and then this bishop a6 move. I was kind of unsure about this because why do you want to trade your good bishop in the French in the future if they play bishop takes? If they play bishop takes knight, for example, you play queen takes, this d3 square can be weak. They can do stuff like this. Rotate your knight to g6, play f4, knight e5, and it's just a really powerful attack. Not f4 right away because that playing a pawn due to a pin, but it's just an idea and it's going to be very dangerous. However, Nate decided not to take the bishop because the bishop on a6 is kind of useless. Castles rook b8. I'm not really sure about the idea on this move because this rook on d1 is pinning the pawn through the knight. So I would play a move like bishop e2 because you can't chip, but that's kind of hard to see. Knight g6 is a good move. Another idea to consider is g5 to go for the f4 pawn move. Um, you can sort of just anticipate, like if I make a nonsense move, f4 comes, and the idea is to take back with the pawn and have crushing attack. However, knight g6 is still a perfectly reasonable move with the f4 pawn push coming. c4 comes, which is the thematic pawn move that the French player makes. This is like a French-esque structure. Queen c5. Just move pinning the pawn. Queen b6 is a threat. Knight b3, attack the queen. Queen c4 is not an option because of the bishop. Whoops. They attack the bishop. The bishop doesn't have anywhere to go, so we take. Um, Here a little bit of a sideline you can play with black is here. Now the best move is knight c5 probably. However, if takes, you can play queen takes a2, hitting the knight on b3 and the pawn on b2, and you kind of just run at them full force with your pieces, and they're going to get swarmed on the second rank. However, knight played pawn takes, bishop moves back, f4, and then knight d4. Um, Nate drops back the bishop because he wants to keep the bishop in this open position, which makes sense. Uh-oh, must have clicked something. Goes back, and then Ronan defends his pawn with b3 because it was a double attack to his one defender. That's the first game so far. We can move on to game number two, which is Miles Tisserand versus Dane Zagar. Um, so far, not many moves have been made. Miles likes this ready knight f3 b3 stuff. It's very okay, like this. Is that good? I did a little bit. Is that good enough? Okay. Um, Knight f3, b3, e3. I mean, this is all standard ready stuff. You can go into a bird, you can do a lot of different stuff. Dana's playing a Tory system with the black pieces, and Miles is going for innocuous attack. I think just ready attack is what it's called. Um, Miles is going for h5. You just block it. The knight comes to d2. Pawn to e5 because the knight on e2 is pinned. Bishop e2 on pinning the knight. Queen e7. c4. I mean, c4 is just a classical move you can usually make. And DC. That's the best move. And if I were Miles, I would have probably had played DC because in the line where he plays knight takes, they just play knight takes and you're met with the same problem. And BC will lead to the same position that we reach in the game, or sort of. He plays B takes C4, E4, takes, knight D4. So it's a slightly different position than what the computer preferred, but honestly, this is still quite playable. Black definitely has the edge here because of the isolated pawn and he's overextended on the king side. He's just playing on the weaknesses right now. So black is certainly has an advantage here. However, it can go either way still because black's bishop is still undeveloped. Um, let's look at the Robert Donahue game and Norman Rin. Uh, wow, this is brutal. Okay. Let's go from the beginning. E4, E5, F4. So the king's gambit. Not a particularly good opening. Takes. Bishop C4, Queen H4. This is theory. D6.
I know.
All just standard. So far, you're doing okay until Bishop takes knight. That was not a good move. There was plenty of what did I scroll? Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. I'll do that for sure. So, what do you think of this move, Eddie? Like,
Um, of bishop takes f3.
yeah,
Um, don't like that move very much because it's not that you can take on e5 or you're going to hang on b7. So you're really just helping white. I think there's really nothing that you're gaining after trading on for that knight. Uh, Especially, I think the way that the game went, it's you took on f3 and then Norm went queen c6.
I mean, okay. I
Uh,
mean, that's what happened. Queen c6 only moved because any other move basically gets checkmated. Queen b6, it's
yeah,
pretty questionable.
yeah, c6. It's not a good square for the queen, but
I think, yeah, I mean, it was the only move. Now, however, yeah, if queen b3, that would have been completely. You attack f2 with the bishop and the queen, and you're threatening bishop e5. I'm not really sure what you would do about this. Like, it's just like too many threats, you're underdeveloped, and I have a space advantage, and everything's falling. That's the way I see it. Do you agree?
yeah, queen b3 looks to just be taking. I mean, either taking the pawn on f7, if the queen moves to defend it, b7 hangs, threatening bishop b5 to win the queen. I don't know. It's queen b3 looks pretty good.
I mean, you could try this, but all of a sudden,
Yeah.
everything just seems sad. Like, I just go bishop takes f4 and rook d1, and it's really ugly.
Take that. B7's hang, and I don't know. There's a lot of problems. Queen c6, queen
Um,
c8.
yeah. Well. let's see what happened. He played queen f4, and knight h6 somehow the best move. I don't know where to begin with this move.
I don't know. It's I
It's
don't know.
I'd call this the Robert move in the position. Like why exactly? I cannot tell you. It's just sort of his style. I cannot express to you why h4 is played.
Preparing rook h3.
I mean that's an idea, sure. I mean, okay.
That's
Well, he gave him the advantage back. Now you're threatening bishop b5. Uh-oh.
which was allowed. Yep.
And I think that's the end of the game. I mean, it was the end of the game. I mean, he just stopped them from castling, took the queen, took the bishop, rook d1. He castled, but knight a4 came. Nothing much you can do. I mean, this is just winning up a queen. I mean, Robert is doing it. Check, takes knight, queen b7's a checkmate. Takes whatever. Norman's doing whatever he can to last as long as possible. Um, this was not the fastest finish, but it's still a finish. And Robert is thinking of the fastest checkmate possible, which would be um either queen c6, knight c5. Um, after rook b8, just like attacking them with rook d1. Um, with the intention of taking and playing rook d8, or just rook d8. Like if he just allows it, rook d8's coming. You can't take with the knight. If you take with the rook, checkmate. So this is just gonna be leading towards mate in six.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just unstoppable checkmate.
Right.
However, Robert can also play rook h3 and just go for rook a3, and it's gonna be
Mhm.
mate.
See, this was his plan when he played h4.
Sure. Let's look at the next game. Michael Basel versus Andy Hordosa.
This one was very interesting. I thought.
Yeah, I definitely
Um,
have questions. Let's say. Turn that off. D4, knight f6, knight f3, d4, d5. This is what we saw similar to the Nate game, except they played c5 instead of knight f6. Bishop f4, e6, e3. This is typical London stuff. And c5. Now, you um what do I say? Andy decided to mix it up and play Jobava, and I mean, I would have played Queen B6 probably. I mean, it just makes sense to me at least. Usually I play against the Jobava London. I go knight f6 first. When they go knight c3, d5, usually this is the main line that they do. Um, knight a6, e3, c6, knight c3, queen b6, rook b1, and bishop b4. This is what I would do against the Jobava London. I played this in a game against Jordan Tim, and I won. It was a pretty exciting game, and it's something that you wanted to go for. Now, however, in the game, it was slightly different, where you couldn't really play the queen b6 idea right away because after rook b1, you don't have that bishop b4 idea. So he played bishop d7, which was confusing because bishop d7 is just not a good move against the Jobava London,
yeah.
or really ever. Knight e5, c4. Also, you shouldn't have played that. Like, I understand you're going for bishop e4, queen a5, but a3, he just stops it.
Yeah, I like
Queen
that move.
a5.
E3, just stopping bishop b4, which I think bishop b4 would have been a good positional move for black. So a3 just puts a halt on that. No bishop b4, queen a5 stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. So a3.
And queen a5 anyways, he's still going for tricks because he wants to play this knight e4 and other stuff, but he just stops it directly. I'm not really sure at this point. And then the engine disagrees, but however, I do have to say this looks like the best. You're going for a b4. It's really fast. And it makes sense. G4, which is like going for absolute chaos. Now, my question is, why did Michael not just play e4? This is what you wanted, right? I mean, you would take the rook attacks the queen, so you'd have to play queen takes, and the pawn is threatened. Like, what is the idea? Just rook b1? Is that what you're afraid of? Because I mean,
Yeah, or rook a2 even.
rook a2 too. Yeah, I that's my first candidate move, but I'm like, rook b1's the classical move that you would usually play in the Jobava London.
Maybe he wanted to take with the bishop at some point instead of the queen. Um,
Mm,
but
yeah,
he
I mean,
bishop
which
e7
is why you
instead.
go rook b1 because in the future, if they go bishop c3, like in this case, you could go queen b6, bishop b4. In this case, it's a bit slow. I mean, I'm gonna play h5 g5. Like you can go for this attack, and you can go for h5, bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and the rook just kind of is misplaced on a2. So that's why usually rook b1's the move.
Yeah, that
And
rook
in
at
this
this
case, there would
point.
be h6, but like what happened in the game was pretty interesting. So let's look at that. Bishop e7, bishop g2, queen b6. Okay. He wants to take with the bishop, castles, castles, e4. Uh de4, surprisingly. I mean, it makes sense, but like it just doesn't
Well,
seem quite like yeah, like what is g6? Like I don't know why you would do that. I mean, you give them the center. Eddie, what do you think about this? Because this is weird.
I don't. Maybe the engine likes it, or I don't know. I don't like d takes c4 at all. I think it just helps accelerate White's counterplay on the king side. Because before taking on e4, I mean, yeah, you're pushing your pawns, like you're push g4, but like I don't think that White's attack is all that scary at this point, especially when White's sort of castle king side and doesn't have that many pieces yet near the king. I mean, now all of a sudden, okay, White has the whole center. White has the f file. White's going to play g5, h4 pretty quickly. Um, After the knight moves on f6, now the knight on b8 can't move without hanging the bishop on d7. Like, I don't know. It looks like White's getting everything they wanted out of the early middle game so far. Maybe move your king away from this pin, but king h1 at some point. The g6 also I don't understand.
Yeah, G6, the reason he played that is a mystery to me. Um, Now you're just getting crushed even harder, let's say. What's gonna end up happening is bishop h6 is a threat, even though he won't take the rook because it's so powerful. I say the bigger threat would be queen f2. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't draw arrows. Like,
Yes.
yeah, queen f2. Ooh, knight g8 just got played. Not a big fan. I mean, there's
That's
so
a
many
good sign.
stuff you can. What?
That's a good sign for White. If Black is playing knight g8 here, that's a good sign for White's position.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, I mean, bishop e3, line it up with the queen. No checks in the future. Plenty of ideas. White should go on to win this game. Unless if they play like knight takes d7, which is not happening.
No.
Then you're playing moves like g5, even. Like you're just completely stopping them from moving their pawns forward. Then you could maybe sack the queen in some lines, but That is coming. I can guarantee it. Let's look at the next game. John Baker versus Jeremy Keeler. Jeremy is completely winning, but
What
it is
happened?
complicated.
Okay, well,
Let's start from the beginning. Oh, whoopsies. E4, C6, the Caro. D4, D5. The exchange Caro is pretty I say knight C3 and knight D2 are better, but okay. C4, knight F6, knight C3, all standard I forget what this is called, the Carl's Botvinnik attack, I
yeah,
think.
Panov.
Yeah, that's all
I've
standard
played a
moves
lot
that you
against
play.
this.
Bishop D4, Bishop D3, castles DC. I mean, this is all standard stuff. I really like black. I mean, white in these positions because there's a lot of pieces in the IQP, and
Yep.
that bishop on C8's not gonna be very good unless if they allow moves like B. They should have played D5 here. However,
Definitely.
bishop D2 happened, which is okay-ish. I mean, rook E1 makes sense. You should honestly put your rooks on E1 and D1. You always put your rooks. The rule of thumb is you always put your rooks lined up with the behind your pawn and behind the other pawn that's looking behind the isolated Isolani. So the rook should instead of C1 should be on D1. I mean, they may be more open, but you should thematically put it behind D1 because D5 needs to be a move in a lot of variations. And now B4 is incoming. If they had played a move like Bishop B1, that would have been a little more flexible, and you may be able to sacrifice a pawn, but you want to keep the bishop on A2. Takes,
And
Bishop
I think
B1.
now black has to. I mean, once you get the knight to B4 and able to blockade the D5 square, I think black has to be somewhat happy, at least equal at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say if I weren't looking at the engine right now, I would say actually I say this is still enough of a position where black is better with perfect play, but it's gonna be very difficult. Like
Yeah.
you have so many ideas. Like you can easily mess it up within a second, because now Queen Knight D5 came, Rook C8 a standard move, and now Queen D3 comes, and all of a sudden Knight takes D5 is a really hard to stop threat. You have to play G6, and
Mhm.
no one likes playing G6. You saw that in the other position where um Michael Basil played G6 and that weakened all of his dark squares. Now this is a completely different position, but still, like it's still almost just as bad. I mean G6. I mean it's still ugly. Queen H3. It's not as terrible because he doesn't have the right open lines, but it's still unpleasant.
I think you have to. In these IQP positions, you don't have a choice because Bishop E1, Queen D3 is going to come. And all these IQP lines, you'll have to play G6. So as long as everything's blockaded and you don't miss any tactics, it should be okay. I don't know if there's any tricks right now in the position. Let's see. I don't think knight takes d5 really accomplishes anything right now. Do you
So
see
let's look
any
at the position
tactics?
a couple moves later. I mean, it's a little dubious. Knight h5, bishop h6, bishop c1, bishop takes f8. I mean, it's still good for black. At this point, it's pretty good for black. Takes, and then this was just like double question mark. I honestly don't know what was going through his mind after this, because this just loses to 92 check. So you can't really do that. And if you take back, now bishop takes a3. However, another move, which is the best move, knight takes f7, dynamite.
Uh,
I mean, yeah, knight takes f7 happened, and yeah, uh, um, knight takes c3. Yeah, can't play rook takes c1. That would be a clear blunder. And now it's a little complicated because after king takes, queen takes e6 check, king g7. This is scary. It's not like there's anything completely winning, but it kind of looks like it's really annoying after a move like this. For example, now there's queen d5, which is why it's completely winning, because you're just threatening checkmate. But like at first glance, it's scary. And there are things like this, but there's also queen f6. Like there are things that scare people in chess, and in this case, king takes f7 might not be played. Now, queen d5 is still a really good move, but it might not happen, and it might be bad. Let's look at this next game. It looks like it's already done. It's been done for a while, actually. So it's Scott versus Sawyer. I've never seen Sawyer before, but I do know Scott. Scott's pretty good. He usually plays e4, so seeing this is kind of a surprise. c4, knight c3, all standard English stuff. They decided to play King's Indian. He decided to play into a classical King's Indian. I mean, this is fine. This is just bishop e2. All of this is natural. Knight a6, bishop g5. Yep, he knows the right move. Queen d2. Yeah, queen d2, not technically the best move, but like, come on, it's queen d2. It's pretty. It's just you're playing bishop h6 if they do nothing. You struck with e5. They can't really do much. Their knight on c7 is pretty terrible. Takes, knight takes. Bishop f5. I mean, black at first glance looks fine, and then you realize he has a space disadvantage. And you're just going to play natural moves until they're going to get checkmated. This is not the right move. You're going for bishop h6, queen h, bishop g7, queen h6 stuff, but it's just not fast enough. Knight e6 attacks the bishop. They're fine. However, you let them. I mean, you're threatening e7 and they give it to you for some reason, which kind of shocks me. Now, this is a crazy move. They did not play that. This attacks the bishop and g2. Bishop really has a hard time moving anywhere. And if you do nothing, all of a sudden the knight hangs. That's checkmate. That's the rook. That's really scary. So, like, knight f4 is complete bonkers. However, it has been missed. Black is still better, but he has to see knight f4. He does not see knight f4. He hangs a knight. And then, like, they're lining up. He took bishop takes, rook d7 check. It's basically forced mate, and he gives checkmate in one.
Wow, that was insanity.
That's just like I was probably losing. I don't want to be that guy, but I was probably losing rating points watching that. That was just no.
That was nice. Yeah, up and down game.
That's a game for sure. Let's look at the next game.
The last one.
So far, I mean, there's been plenty of moves made since the previous board.
Yeah, Steven.
D4, knight f6, c4, g6, standard stuff. D5. So Grunfeld, because bishop f4 is not one of the best moves. I say the best move. I like the same-ish. I will play f3. I say the reason f3 is pretty good is because if they play King's Indian, well, you can play e4 and then knight c3 and you're good. However, if they play a Grunfeld, you can take knight takes, and then after e4, they just don't. This is just really good for white. I mean, just an insanely good. You don't even have the pressure on c3 anymore in the Grunfeld, and that's all that you play for. So, good luck.
Yeah, there's a lot of theory in that plan.
However, they invite the Grunfeld, and they play some moves. c5. I don't know what that is. You can just take it, but okay, sure. I think c5 was too early, and now h3 allowed cd4, but also not mentioned. e3, castles, knight e5. Now, bishop e6 is not natural. However, queen b6, just like go after this and this. Even if you take, I can just take and attack your knight. So you may launch, but I launch better. So However, knight takes e5, bishop e5, and then bishop f5. Bishop e6, I would probably play this move because even though I don't play the Grunfeld, I would calculate that, oh gee, there's some pawns on c4 and d4. I might want to line that up with taking on c4 in the future. But bishop e2 after bishop f5 and allows cd4 again, the best move. They want them to take you. That's basically the game they're playing. Some moves pass by, queen b6, queen d2 defending the pawn. However, rook d8, and now they're lined up with the queen. Takes. I was expecting bishop e4 here. However, takes, and then g5, and there's big threats. There, takes, queen e2. Now the threats are, if they ever take you, then you can open up the e file, which they allow. And there's just been some trades. The bishops move, the queens are going to get traded soon enough. This should lead towards a draw. I can see black maybe winning if they play queen takes d2. They probably won't play queen takes d2, and it will probably be a draw. Let's go back to the first game. Okay, what has happened here? Let's look at this. So we left off at b3, and you just, okay, f3 is, okay, takes, knight h4. Okay, let's look at this. f3, pawn takes, knight h4. If pawn takes pawn, the threat is, just like mate. Like, this is just a simple. So, king h1 decides at the checkmate. Pawn takes. And now there's a knight and a rook attacking that, so you can't really take back. Bishop d3, bishop h3, attacking the rook. If they play bishop h2, if bishop takes h2, I really couldn't care less. That bishop will be hanging in a lot of future variations. So he did not play that. He played rook fe1. You attack the queen. Yeah, again, no bishop takes h7. That's just going to be suicide. Queen d2. And, I don't know how else to put it other than Nate's cooking.
Yeah.
For example, bishop g2 check. All you need to move king g1. You can go bishop h3, or you can just go queen to f6 with the simple idea of queen g5 and check. Like, you have to play e4 and sacrifice a knight on d4. That is what you have to do. Otherwise, you don't have anything. You just can't live this. If Nate plays bishop g2 check, I don't know how else to put it. If you go queen f6 here, which is what happens because you're threatening check and then there, and if they go e4, same thing. So yeah, they can go bishop f1. They can try and save themselves. However, knight g2 is obscure. Finding that, Eddie, right? You gotta agree with me. Knight g2 is pretty insane.
I would not consider knight g2 in this position.
Yeah.
To win the okay, is he just trying to win the rook or?
Maybe, I don't know. It's probably because it wants to just shut out all your pieces. If I were to go knight g2, okay, technically, rook c1, for example. Okay, it is trying to take the rook.
Yeah.
I am like, what? Obviously if takes, bishop takes g2 and you get checkmated. No question.
No, don't take that. Don't take that.
Yeah, you don't take the knight, and they don't have moves like king g1. They still get checkmated. Like, I guess that's the threat. And yeah, okay, knight f4 makes sense because after the king moves, you can give check or just take the bishop. Queen g2 is unstoppable checkmate. Game over. It's basically just forced checkmate. I don't know how else to put it. After knight g2, there is not much you can do to stop checkmate. Right.
Yeah, this is. I think it makes more sense at this point to go down this line. Queen f6, either now or after bishop g2. It's a lot more, say, human-like than playing knight g2. going after the exchange.
Yeah, I would play bishop g2 first because there's nothing they can do, and then you go queen f6 because now they at least have bishop g1, and then you have to find knight g2. I'm sure Nate's gonna find it because it traps the rook and they can't take, but like, not as clean. Like you can just chop them up and put them in the blender, or you can chop them up partially but not put them in the blender, but like slowly suffocate them instead. That's your choice, I guess, if you find the right move. However, after bishop f1, which is a good defense, the only other move is bishop g2 check. And after bishop g2 f g2 king g1, the king is surprisingly safe. Why am I not? The king is surprisingly safe. Now, black's still better. It's just a lot harder to checkmate them. So yeah, and bishop. Yeah, I mean, and in this line, yeah, you're glad to take the exchange from them because even though that rook was worth nothing in this line and it's a different line, it's a rook. It's important. So way better than a bishop. Well, Nate's probably gonna win. Let's just watch it happen. Nothing. We'll just wait to see.
What about the Miles game, Dave?
Whoa, this is tricky. And Miles is technically quote unquote winning.
Oh,
So let's go to the position we last saw. Takes knight d4. This is the last time we saw the position. Knight takes d2, queen takes d2, bishop takes e2, king takes e2. Yeah, king takes e2 is pretty gangster, I'd say, because like even though it makes a ton of sense, just keeping your king in the middle like that is kind of Chad.
oh yeah. I mean, but where else is your king gonna go? It's like
I mean, probably queenside, right?
I think. I
With
mean,
king
king
b1.
e2. It's probably the safest square for the king.
I mean, I think the king on a1 is safer, right?
Yeah, but I think he's just trying to get counterplay himself from the queen side. Okay, I think
Yeah,
okay, he's gonna swing the rooks
castles.
over to the
Oh,
b4 and start a
this is
move.
starting to get crazy. And then a6. So, wow, this is starting to get really chaotic because knight c6, kabang.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
this is really brutal. Like, holy, I don't know where to begin with this move, but like, geez, I mean, I would think for a long time and probably play rook b1, or probably not think for a long time and play rook b1.
Yeah, I don't think you can take that knight right on c6.
You can't. You can't.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
you pretty made it. I think after it takes and you
not
threaten
mate, but
bishop
very
e5
close. I mean,
or bishop
bishop
e5
d4, c5, but then
rook
rook
chain.
a b1, for example, knight b6, um,
You can save.
mach,
Okay.
and then rook b1, which is absurd. I mean, it works.
Hmm.
Can't take the bishop because you get checkmated. Like mate in two, like just mate in two. So
Yeah. And this is something that
like
Miles will probably see because Miles is very
Miles
good
will
at
definitely see
calculation.
this because he's into night sacrifices like this.
Yes, he's been playing very well tactically recently.
Yeah, I don't want to bring up that game against with you versus Miles. He just missed rook at d8 g8.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Instead he
suggested
played.
that to him right after the game, but he said he looked at it and there's something he didn't like about it. But yeah, that it was just. I looked over it afterwards and he was plus 35.
Yeah, because after rook dg8 there was queen h2 ideas after queen f2.
Yeah, he was just clearly winning after. I mean, I went pretty
After he
wrong
took.
after that queen a3 variation. He was just much better.
I mean, yeah, but no, we're bringing up we're referencing nothing. I'm sorry, my mom said told me something.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, this is absolutely a slaughter. I mean, you're just gonna take on. I mean, like Queen E4's best move. You take Queen takes C4, maybe. King F3 is savage. But like we're just gonna have to wait and see. Miles is winning. It's gonna be hard. This game, uh, turns out that Norman has 0 time, but the time is still ticking. Um, I don't know. Maybe Robert did play this and accidentally did something with the DGT board with 97 check. Because this was the better move.
Yeah, he probably just resigned and they didn't put the kings in the center. I don't know.
But they might have accidentally played 97. I don't know what they played because I didn't put this Rook H3 move in. There should probably be some contact with Nate saying that there was a mistake, but I don't know. It looks like Robert won. I mean, he's clearly winning. There's no way he'd still be thinking in this position. We're just gonna have to look and see the result on the Chess Castle website later. So back to this Andy Michael Basel game. What happened? It's only zeros.
Zeros, yeah. Back to equality.
So after Bishop E3 F6, he traded. I mean, it's still winning, but
yeah.
I mean, you just had to play naturally, and all of a sudden, you slowly lost your advantage. I mean, okay, G5 was a mistake, which is Queen E2 makes sense. Okay, I mean, it just makes sense. H3 makes sense. Bishop F3 makes sense. This just weakens squares. Knight G4, you're still attacking the bishop, and bishop takes F8. And all of a sudden, I don't know what knight E2 is. I mean, I guess I understand because takes and queen D4 is incoming, but like now all of a sudden, black is better because of moves such as E5. Such as doesn't mean it is. But like it's really complicated. You can still mess up with black, but it's really complicated. Technically, the best move is takes, and king h8 to stop queen e5 to meet with bishop g7. It makes sense, but it's really hard to see. So yeah, I mean there's stuff like e5 doesn't mean it is the best way. So knight e2, I don't even know what's going on in this position. I'm getting guided by the engine. Like if I were to just sit here and think, I'd be like, I'd be more upset that I have to play this position and not just win the game. But you know, it is what it is. People make mistakes. We're gonna see what happens. Cannot tell you. In the Jeremy Keeler game, it looks like they went down the exact same line I pointed out earlier, where they go bishop e7, queen d5. And then they had to play queen g4 to not trade and defend checkmate. Knight takes b1, 3. This is resignable. You're down 3 pieces for 2 pawns. You can't like I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think black is gonna win the game. And that's all I can really say. This game has been won. Let's look at this one. Oh, it still looks drawish because of the opposite of bishops. Honestly, don't know how else to put it other than it should be a draw. Let's go back to the Nate games. All of these games. Oh wow, that's good. He found knight
Okay.
G2.
Yeah.
So we're going back to what we said earlier. Nate played queen f6. He tried defending, and Nate found knight G2. So sort of inhuman, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And yeah, there's gonna be a checkmate. I don't see how it stopped really, other than or you lose the exchange. That's the other alternative. There isn't too much to be.
Going for the exchange, yeah. I mean, probably would have been tempted with like bishop g2, but yeah, knight g2 is of course better because computer says so.
But
And
also, like, just humanly, it goes through the rook.
yeah, I mean, material does count in the end.
So let's see what goes on, I guess. I'm unsure. I mean, the most challenging move is probably rook a1, and then after takes, you go like bishop takes h3, and all of a sudden, that knight's kind of trapped. If you go to g2, bishop takes rook. So yeah, your knight's hanging, and stuff's attached. So you got to be a little careful with what you're doing. And queen g6, queen g5, even king h8, because it's just all winning. Because again, they have no moves. You just have to not trade pieces for a little bit, and the position will work itself. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, eventually, Nate is going to find a breakthrough after he takes the rook. Maybe not now, but yeah, as we looked at, knight takes, bishop takes h3. Now the rook on c8 is hit as well, and but I think he
Yeah.
just said, yeah,
We'll
it's just
just
setting up queen g5.
or queen g6, which I don't know why it likes queen g6 better. It could be because queen e4 is a resource in the future. Or rook c2 even, which is another idea that I just came up with. Well, this is I'm more all this game is basically over. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Oh wait. Um
Hmm?
Ronan played queen d3. He did not play rook a1. Now knight takes e1,
Okay, yeah, now it's
attacks
the
the
tempo. Yeah.
now it's the rook. And bishop g2 is just brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't understand why they can't take. Apparently, oh yeah, queen f2, of course. So like everything, I mean, just knight takes. I don't
Yeah,
just win.
couldn't let it be with tempo.
And then yeah, I mean bishop g2 check. I mean, that's kind of sad, savage. Bishop g2 check, and if king g1, then queen g5, still checkmate. Like a common pattern in other positions would be bishop g2 h3, and you just resign.
Bishop g2.
Yeah,
Let's see, king to
you
g1.
cannot take because queen takes f2, and
Yeah,
then you just rail them.
you have to go
So
king
knight
g1,
takes
king
e1
g5.
and bishop g2 check. You can resign because in the line where they play takes bishop g2. Even if you go king g1, queen g5
g5.
is like
That's it,
killer.
right?
That's wraps. They
That's
attack your queen, but you just loop forward. They try to trade, you take the knight.
yep.
Like you're up a rook now. Doesn't matter what you do, you are getting checkmate.
At this point, it's
Or down
even
rook.
if you don't, even if you didn't have mate, you're just up a rook.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So
nothing.
nothing you can really do. It's just take the rook, bishop g2 check, you're gonna win. Nate can find it, he has 40 minutes. Let's look at the Miles Dane game. That's gonna be very interesting. Okay, so Dane after this played queen to yeah, I mean knight takes rook, queen g4 check.
Mhm.
Hmm. This is interesting because the king is in the center. And bad things can happen if the king's unsafe. King to um king to e1 is a savage move. Like I can't begin to fathom. Like there is so much after. I mean, how is that the only safe square? That's the big question.
Really? King f1 doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
well,
C4 is
I
hanging.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, queen takes c4,
Okay.
and now there isn't as good as a response. So king e1 would be the best move because now if they go queen c4,
Okay. I would check.
what? Sorry, a3 only move. Stop
Oh,
bishop b.
well, okay. Bishop B4. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and now if they take, now you go rook c1, and it's over. So, I
Yeah.
mean, even then, knight c5.
Yeah. I think that line is findable for Miles though with A3.
A3, yeah. But like, holy Jesus.
Yeah, and that's the only safe square. It's the only one that doesn't lose the pawn with check.
Yeah, well, you're not playing king d3 because knight c5 check wins.
No.
So, yeah, and you're not, and I mean, king d2 is also playable, but it's not
I
king
mean, I
e1.
guess. Yeah.
So, oh, okay. I want to promote the move. Okay. That would be the best variation when he finds it. But a3? I mean, of course a3, but like,
Yep.
come
Only
on.
move.
Only move. Other moves are zeros. You can play bishop a3, but after bishop a3, queen a3, rook d8, it's technically zeros because Dane has a pawn, an initiative, and a piece, a knight and pawn for rook plus initiative. So it can be very scary. For example, after bishop a3 takes, rook takes d8, rook d1. And now an example would be knight c5. Knight e5 would be scary. However, you can trade. So in this case, you can trade, but it
And this
will
is
end up being a draw. This endgame's a draw.
yeah. This the now I'd be scared with white at this point. Probably lose
Yeah.
this somehow. I probably lose this with white in this position.
I mean, it's scary because the pawns on the queen side are very strong, and your king side pawns is only 4-on-3. And if it were 3-on-2 or 2-on-1, it would be a different story. But it's 4-on-3. The more pawns, the harder it is to break through. So that's the rule. And wow. Okay, well, looks like Nate won the game against Ronan. Okay. Yeah, Nate found the line pretty quickly. He took the rook, played bishop g2 check. They took, and then he
Oh,
played queen takes f2, and then he just figured out that he could just take the rook and you lose. You could check whatever, you take the rook and win the game. Nate won the game. That's great. Also, Robert Donahue got marked as winning too. I'm not really sure what the move was played, but that's I guess it is what it is.
yeah. Not a surprise after the queen win.
I mean that's true. Uh, Michael Basel versus Andy. So wow, this is pretty interesting because he played e5, like I was
This
suggested
game was a
at
mess.
first. But what?
This game was a complete mess. Let's see
Oh,
what
yeah.
is going on here.
This is one of
So
the funnest messes I've ever seen. And then he took the bishop. I would have played king h8 here because it's just safe, and bishop g7 in the future is safe. But you know, king h8, bishop g7 is kind of an obscure idea. I can kind of see why someone would play it, but at the same time, all of a sudden, I feel like after 93, you're relieving all of the stress they had. And now, yeah, after rookie 197, you can just attack them. And the attack is back for Andy. I mean, he's going knight f5, but still, the attack is back. And bishop h3 is kind of scary. I mean, okay, knight d5, but like queen h3, and you can just see that it's a mess, but without saying it's a mess, I would say that white is better. White technically has the initiative, so when it's a mess and one side has the initiative, I say they're better, but at the same time, it's a freaking mess. Anything can happen. And you see, bishop
yeah,
b4 just happened to stop both knight f5 and knight d5. And now king h8 is good again because you want to be on the safest square possible, which is a dark square, and get your bishop into the game. I don't think he's finding the idea, but it's really hard to see, admittedly.
Yeah.
So let's look at the John Baker Jeremy Keeler game. It's still going.
It's over. Smart.
Yeah, it's over. I mean, yeah, it's over. You're up 3 pieces for 2 pawns. No need to look at that. We saw Scott Yellowstone game. In this game, am I not seeing something?
Hmm?
Uh-oh. Somehow, Steven hung a rook.
Yeah, I'm about to say, wasn't Black's up a rook here? Or
Yeah,
am I
I was.
missing
Wait a
something?
second. Why did the engine initially say draw?
Go
Okay,
back.
I mean,
I want to see how Black won a rook.
so rook c1, rook c7. That's what happened because he didn't see the fork.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Ouch.
like he decided he wanted to activate his rooks and play rook c7 to go and invade, even though it did ultimately nothing. Hangs the rook. And I mean, yeah, and this is it's a rook advantage. Srijan is definitely winning. Not much to say. He's not hanging a rook. No way it's happening. Even if you give up a bishop in this position for a pawn and trade the rooks, it's still a win.
Yeah, this is
Srijan wins.
clear win. Yeah,
Clear
be a nice
win, 8-1. There's only basically 2 games left. Michael Basil and Andy. I mean, Srijan is gonna win, no doubt.
Yeah, that would be a good win for him because he's a 500-point rating underdog.
Yeah, I mean, Srijan is definitely underrated. Oh, I've seen him play, I think. So that's good for him, though. So let's look at the Michael Basil and okay, what on earth happened?
King G8 instead of H8.
What ended up happening was knight c6.
Knight C6. Okay, and
Ouch, that's what happened. Could have played queen f3, which
why did
is
he take on
definitely
C6?
seeable. He took on c6 because after queen c6, queen e5.
Oh, yeah, but was there something better? Oh, 1 second, I thought maybe there's something
Plenty
even
better.
better.
Putting on
Queen
the f5.
F3.
Yeah, attack the knight, attack f6.
Yeah,
d5 incoming. I might have played d5 if it didn't scare me tactically with bishop c5 ideas. But
Queen F3 looks pretty good
queen
too.
f3 is pretty decisive.
Yeah, thanks here.
With queen f3, the difference, I mean, queen f2 was good, but queen f3 is better because it attacks the knight. So he took, but because I mean it's a clean tactic, but still, like
Still
I
good.
mean,
Yeah.
it's still good. You're up a clean pawn and attacking. That's good. And it's a pass pawn actually, which is even better. But it's still scary. It could be drawn, technically speaking. If this game is a draw, I mean, it deserves game of the week.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like this is just absolutely chaotic. Now all White wants to do is trade down and live life. Because if you can get into an end game, you are definitely winning with the white pieces. Because the bishop's
Yeah,
not
I
getting behind.
mean, well, if White can probably force that, Queen E6 if Black doesn't do anything at that point.
Black doesn't do anything, there's a free queen. But this
I don't know what he would do about it.
I mean, you could go rook d6 and try to keep queens on the board with bishop takes d6 and queen e6 check, but white's winning.
Rook D6. Yeah.
Takes bishop takes queen
Bishop
e6. I mean,
Queen B8. Maybe
what?
after that.
It
Or
would be rook d6, rook takes d6, bishop takes d6, queen e6 check. That would be the best line.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to play d5 yet. After that,
Yet. I want to keep the protected pass pawn
yeah,
for now.
queen e6
Right
check.
now, I want to attack my opponent, actually. So, yeah. You can get the rooks and queens traded, however, it's a win in the end game. And if you can also just vibe in the end game. Oh, takes and h4, I guess. I don't know. That seems pretty solid. Queen takes d5. I mean, queen e6 check is kind of. I mean, it makes sense because you don't want the rook to be attacking the pawn, and the rook on e6 is better.
Hmm.
But that seems extra. Take and play h4 seems like it's the right way to go.
If he plays queen e6, I'll be impressed.
I'm
That's
assuming queen takes d5, rook d5, h4 with the idea of knight f4 is. I mean, that's just the simple idea. If he plays rook e6, I would be surprised.
yeah.
So I guess let's wait and see what goes on. Uh, so yeah, now we have. We're not looking at game 7 anymore. I mean, you win. Good job. This game, Miles did not play King E1. He played King D2. Okay,
Well,
just
that's
got a little
still
spicy.
yeah, that's still I guess a playable move, but like I'm surprised why. Why?
Maybe because the rook on E1 was undefended in some ways,
Hmm.
and probably because he didn't see A3.
Hmm.
I'm still shaking after saying A3, which is kind of funny.
So queen c4 still probably played,
Yeah, Dan will definitely put that.
and then I don't like to still play a3 after queen c4. I guess stopping
I
bishop
mean,
b4.
in this line, apparently,
Bishop c3 is better though. I guess.
I mean, it makes sense, but
Okay.
because you want to play rook B1 and knight takes B7, which is it recommends bishop C5 to go like bishop D6 and stuff because the knight's trapped. It can't take on
Maybe that's the
F7
argument
because
for king d2.
what?
That's the argument for king d2. I guess you can bring the other rook to b1.
Over to D1. Yeah. The argument is the endgame can be won because it's just up 2 points of material, but it can be very scary. And apparently this is winning. You can't take the knight because of you can't take the knight because of check. So Miles wouldn't do that, and that F3 is like a near mate threat. Oh, I highlighted moves I don't want to do. Okay, great. So it would be scary, but Rook DB1 and Bishop takes E5 now because of this thing. So 95 wouldn't be played, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. We can only say stuff when the mistakes happen because this position is just so weird, right? It's
Yeah, I
not
mean
weird.
it's
It's just
weird, but
different.
it's it's weird in a good way. I think it's weird in the it's not completely obscure, but it's you just have to be able to
Oh,
find
he played
find the
the eight.
tactics and
Oh no.
survive. So
Oh no. He found the A3 move, but he played it in the wrong line. Now knight C5 is like knight B3 and queen D3.
oh, okay. So now now knight c5 is with tempo threatening. Okay, now you're threatening the fork.
Yeah, oh
Okay,
god.
and then rook c1 would have to be
Oh no. And Dane's gonna find this, of course.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, knight C5 has been a natural move in every slot. And oh no.
Oh, he
Rook
already played it,
HC1 knight B3.
and somehow this is dynamically equal.
No, point one black. I
Yeah,
mean,
so dynamically equal. Basically, it's very close to just being pure equality objectively, but practically speaking, black has to be for choice, right? I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, actually, I like Rook HC1 a lot.
knight b3.
knight b3 here.
Go
If
knight
takes,
rook two.
takes, takes, knight takes f7. I mean, technically, black's up a pawn, but rook d1, and there's a mate threat. I mean, bishop e7, but like, there's not there is quite a lot in this position after knight takes a3. This is just so much to digest. There is a 3-on-0 and a 4-on-2, but black's pieces are worse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it's technically drawn, but holy, I don't want to get into this, but this is so happening. Let's look at the Michael Basel game to get our minds off. He did not trade queens. He decided to go back, and now there is bishop e7 move. No. There's no bishop e7. What was I saying? But there's like, this is a very tricky move.
I don't know. Why did he avoid the endgame? It doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe he was afraid all of his pawns were in dark squares and it would be a draw.
Yeah, now he's getting some counterplay. Let's see. Queen e3, e8.
I mean, yeah, rook e8 is weird. Well, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It just doesn't quite sit right. Let's just say.
Take.
You okay?
Yeah, take queen g5. I don't think he's going to take an e8 though.
No, apparently taking on g6 and then taking on e8 is the better move way.
Okay, pick up a pawn in the meantime.
Yeah. They're still up a clean point. However, I mean, technically you can play queen takes e8 and then knight g3, and they would play queen takes f6 because that makes sense. And you'd still have objective pass pawn, you being plus 0.7. But trading the queens would have been much easier. Now rook e8's annoying.
Yeah. It's a pretty nice resource here. It's still good for white, but as long as Andy doesn't take on e8 immediately, allowing queen takes g5 check.
It's still winning after knight g3, but knight 7. Oh, they found the second best move. I mean, it makes sense. The move makes sense. You want to stop queen e8. And rook e8's kind of hard to see. So this is going to be an interesting endgame. Let's go back to the Miles game.
So Miles is still thinking.
I mean, yeah, rightfully
Miles,
so.
He's a little down on time, down to 9:39 here. But yeah, this is not a position you want to be low on time in.
This is not, but yet he is. So let the position ensue and see what goes on.
Okay. And now Miles
This is sort of like watching a movie. You just have to wait and see what happens. Sort of. It's not like these guys are paid actors or anything. It's just like, this is fun. This is just fun to watch. You got to see what's going on. Because holy crap, there's a lot.
No. Yeah, they're not paid actors, but I mean, they have opportunity in this game to create a masterpiece so far.
Yes.
And it's been a masterpiece so far. I think this has been probably the most entertaining game, I think, as far as just crazy tactics are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the more crazier game would definitely be Michael Basel and Andy if you get into knee deep into those positions. However,
overall, yeah, but this one just had more direct tactics.
yes,
Knight c6, and then king walking to d2, allowing knight c5, and knight still hanging on d8 for like 4 moves.
I mean, it took a rook, so I mean, logically speaking, the knight should die at some point.
Unless eventually it might take an f7 and survive. If
Yeah, maybe.
that line
That's kind of the fun part. in this.
Yeah, at that point, that line that you showed is going to be played. The knight will survive. So
Yes.
rook hc1. Well, other than rook
However,
hc1, what else do you have here for
nothing. You get like checkmated. Otherwise, it's like minus 2.4 if you do not play rook hc1. The difference between rook fc1 would be knight b3, king e1, knight takes c1,
okay,
and you can't, and the rook on h1 is better placed on a1. And you get checkmated here, or lose a rook or more.
okay.
So the reason that rook hc1 and not rook ac1 is a very big difference. Subtle, but big.
Makes sense.
And
Now your rooks are going to be connected at the end. Getting the queen. There's
that's why
no
you
way.
play king d2. Now, it's still really hard, no doubt.
Let's see.
No doubt the knight will probably live. We just have to wait and see. Miles is getting lower on time, which is getting scary.
And so go back to the Andres
Amazing.
game with Michael.
Oh, Sri John won his game now. I mean, he was up a rook. Yeah,
Yeah.
winning. Oh, then game, it's still the same position. Yeah, you're just up a pawn. Oh,
Wait,
I
did
went.
rook e8 not happen?
No, they played rook d6 instead. Rook
Oh,
e8
so
was
okay. I thought that already happened in the game, rook e8.
no,
Okay, so
no.
that didn't
I
happen. All
put that in and I'm like, rook e8's a very challenging move. That's what I said.
right. Okay, if rook e8 wasn't played, then
I mean, he
this
found the second best move, but if uh why am I blanking out? Why am cat got my tongue?
played,
Um
played.
oh no. Yeah, I'm like if Andy doesn't step on the driver's seat, but sit in the driver's seat, then he won't win the game. It's not happening.
You have to
And all
take
of a
an
sudden after GS6, you're going for Queen E5 nonsense, but what you had is good enough. Queen Knight is better than Queen Bishop.
take on
So
d6 and play. Eventually, well, yeah, you probably don't want to allow the trade of the knight, like knight f4, and allow the trade. That'll probably be a draw. Try to keep the knight on the board, unless there's a tactic. So you go back h4.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Was h4 played in the game?
Yeah, that's what they just played. I wouldn't have played that myself. I would have mentioned Rook D6.
Oh, if h4 was played, okay. Now, mm, so we're taking
Yeah,
f.
it's weird.
Rook takes
There,
f6,
pawn
and
takes, and
what is white doing?
White is trying to use that pawn to block up the bishop, but that pawn will fall. And the pawn on h4, the reason the pawn was better on h2, even in the endgame where I mentioned back here, where they would play rook e8, and I would play takes, knight g3, queen takes f6. Okay, they have queen b5 in this position, but generally, even though you're not up the pawn, I would have to say that I like white because the pawn on h4 is not a weakness. And queen knight is better than queen bishop, but it's going to be really hard to grind down.
But the end game, don't push pawns on the side where you're weaker. Don't allow
That's a
the
general
trade
rule of
off
thumb.
eventually. Try to.
Going back after h4, yeah, you could have just put up a clean pawn. However, you decided you wanted more imbalance because you decided you needed more imbalances for some reason. I cannot explain to people why he wanted this. He wanted to go for like I would guess he went for some queen e5 after gf6, where after pawn takes those pawns would be stronger. But I mean, That's just not. That's just a no. I don't like that. That's just not likable.
Mhm.
Especially with the weak pawn on h4. Like I would have played knight f4 if you wanted to try something like that. For example, king f7. Good move.
You have 7, yeah.
And if king f7, if you okay, yeah, queen f5, it was a good move. That's I like that move. If king f7 got played and you accidentally went for this, all of a sudden king e6 and you're losing your pawns. So that's why I don't like h4. Also, like your weak queen d4 check is now coming, and it's scarier. It's zeros after a move like this, but I mean they can take. They can also give you perpetual, like or take with check even. Like it's scary. Check, and then if you go to e1, they can be up a pawn after this, and we don't want that. So too risky. I don't. You could Michael Basil could literally should be drawn. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah, now it's looking trickier and trickier for white to
Toss up.
get any advantage. I mean,
No, white does not have an advantage anymore. I won't say that.
no, I mean, king is way too exposed at this point.
It's
Too many
not the matter of
opportunities.
king safety. It's the matter that you're no longer up a pawn, and that h4 pawn is weak.
Probably, well, you can allow perpetual in some lines if you try to defend the pawn.
I mean, you could go for like some knight g3, king g2 stuff, and if they mess up or something and try and take the pawn, all of a sudden they can go south after queen f7, but like they have to do that.
What if
After
you took the pawn
94,
F6?
they are in Zugzwang.
What if you took
Surprisingly, I
the
don't.
F6 pawn?
What?
What if you took the F6 pawn immediately after knight G3?
Yeah, that's the best move.
Then
And then
now what?
H5 would have happened. But
That's looks like not
risky. I
much
know.
left. Right? Yeah.
I mean, however, you can make mistakes. Knight E4 is there, and queen takes G5 is a possibility. Queen F5, Manch. Still drawn. Black could still be better. But like
G5, yeah. G5 is a move that I probably would play if I'm going to try to play for a win with black at this point, but it's probably not the best choice.
it's just so much is going on. Well, not it's not enough towards chaos, but like holy, I mean, I don't even know. So like Queen G5, okay. I did not consider that. That's actually pretty interesting.
G5.
Huh. Because you're going for attacking ideas. I mean, they're gonna ignore you, but it's still a good idea.
Okay, bishop
Still
E6.
drawn.
Yeah,
However, you can easily blunder it on accident.
yeah.
Well, the bishop, I mean, still drawn. I don't know. I thought the bishop was on c5 for some reason and covering f2. But
Oh,
yeah,
so this is not clear.
it's not clear, but it's definitely like they have to take you type of a deal. I mean, even if they take you and then play h6, it's at least drawn.
Yeah, at this point, this should be a draw. But this is more. Honestly, I think Michael will take on G5.
I think, yeah, takes an h6 makes a lot of sense. I mean, all Michael needs is a draw because he's lower rated.
I don't think he's thinking about playing for a win right now. If he's taking on G5, I don't think he's looking to play for a win.
he did not take on g5.
Did he play a move?
He's thinking.
Okay, now you have. And
He
looks like
can
I'm
still
just
play moves like king f7 and later take on g5 or something.
I'm just
But
noticing.
it's probably drawn. It's probably drawn. That's what I have to say.
Miles is still thinking in this game against Dane as well.
Maybe they made a move or something. Yeah, they went into this endgame.
Okay. So
So they played so yeah, they played the rook 8 AC1, they sacrifice the exchange, take the pawn, and the only move that you have that saves yourself would be rook D1, which is sensical, but like but to play bishop A1 to see that your how would I put what's it called? To see that the bishop on A1 will support it in the future. It's seeable, but Jesus.
bishop. Okay, knight. And
This
bishop
is
C3
also
is
going to
okay.
be a draw with perfect play. I feel like Dane will win this because it's Dane.
And Miles has 40 seconds.
I mean, that hasn't stopped Miles before, but like it doesn't stop you. But
Oh well, in this kind of position, I don't know. There's a lot of with the pass pawns that are about to start running on the queen side. There's going to be a lot to calculate here.
well, it's basically counting the way I see it.
You're going to the counting. You're going to have to count very precisely, and he still has to find rook d1.
Yeah,
It's
if you do
just
not find Rook D1, I think you're just going to be clearly lost because
bishop
there's
c3.
no real way to because you want to keep the bishop on C3, but after bishop A3, so the line goes, if you go, oh no, knight takes A3 with the threat of knight C2. I'm not sure what he's
Okay,
going to do. Probably rook C1, but that's just not the way I want to do it. If you were to go
what happened?
rook D1, then what would end up happening? He played bishop D4.
Okay, and then okay, now he has knight a3. Okay,
Knight A3,
yeah.
rook C1, and then knight B5. Um, after rook D1, okay, if you keep this on the diagonal, they play bishop takes A3, and it's a little better. However, in this line, that threat checkmate is threatened. If they go like C6, you go check and they're pinned. So they go bishop E7 to stop you, and then you go bishop A1. They can't go bishop takes A3 because of bishop takes G7.
Okay, bishop takes g7. Okay, mate on d. Okay, yeah.
So
Uh,
it can't happen. And now White's probably winning because the pawns are more advanced.
this
However,
is
this is a little different. Oh, okay. I need to do something. I need to mute my mic and go to and fix the dishwasher. Mom, am I not muted?
okay. So while John is away, I'll just be looking at the broadcast a little bit. I don't have the screen, but I'm just going to look at the game that we have in front of us since that's the most interesting, I think, right now, just to see what exactly is going to happen from this end game. So after bishop d4, okay, knight takes a3 for the best move. So I think Dane is still thinking right now. This is the current position, at least. Or wait, I think he's back.
How both games are draws, right? I mean,
I don't know. I don't think this one's going to be a draw.
well, this one isn't technically, yeah, no, black. Technically, black is better, but the game, it's not about equal. It's about the tempo, and the
Yeah.
reason it isn't -6 is because the engine probably isn't on a high enough.
Well, let's see. This is Elite Chess Engine, depth 27. Yeah. I'm not sure why it's not a bigger. There must be something concrete that's causing this not to be a bigger advantage for black being
The
up the
concrete
past
is
one.
the king side pressure.
You know, but, I mean, yeah, white also has a majority on the king side, but it does look like black's majority
No,
should be faster.
actually, because white's more advanced on the king side already, that's why the tempo battle may be a bit skewed.
Yeah, but the pawns that are advanced aren't the past ones yet. But like if f4, f5 is probably coming quickly. Not right now, but let's say like
Actually, in
19
the
states.
future, I mean, like, if something like B5 happens, I don't even know. Because, like, I have to say, if they don't take, like, a move that they would play, right? Dane would play would be G6. But then after a move like A4, it kind of, it's tricky.
I think you're paused. They've already made moves after
Oh, okay. They played Bishop A. Dane played Bishop A3,
Bishop
King
A3. Okay.
E2, C5. Wow. Okay. Yep. These pawns are coming in wild, and Bishop E4 is interesting.
And B4. Okay, so his idea is just to start. Okay, throwing
Force the trade.
Bishop
Now,
B4. Okay.
Bishop B4 takes, take.
Well, if you take that, this is going to be bad news under B5.
Well, I mean, check. I mean, okay, but
But
it can go south. Oh, Rook
yeah,
C8.
keeping the pawn.
Oh,
No
okay.
tactics.
Yeah, that's brutal. Oh, Dane played B5, however. 95 is a move.
B5.
Miles
Okay.
played 95 with 4 seconds left. He's at
Miles is a
only
good
four
looks
seconds.
player.
So, hmm. And okay, knight takes, bishop takes.
Okay, so it's objectively equal right now.
Oh no. B4 and then rook takes. I meant rook A5. However, the tactics don't work.
Rook A3.
If B4,
Why Rook
I'm
A3?
thinking what I'm thinking right now, which is a shame it doesn't work. B4, rook A5, but knight D7. Actually, wait. Rook takes A6, king B7, rook E6, and then knight C6, and this endgame is winning. Because C4 comes fast enough.
Take C4.
This is so tricky. I mean, and if this, then rook E4, and if this,
Three.
then
Okay.
you can maybe even sacrifice and say this might be a draw. Might be. Oh,
Yeah.
king
Or do
D3.
you have King D3?
Might be. I quote might be. Because after king D6, it still seems this, I don't know. Is this a win? Technically, yes. But you could have taken on E5, and after B4, it does look very scary, but that bishop can't move on
Yeah, I'm
A3.
surprised he took the bishop. Um,
Maybe because the bishops are good in open positions.
but still,
I don't go to live move. Okay. Well, I think it's time to see what happens. I'm pretty positive Dane will play. I'm pretty positive that Dane would play why am I blanking on the move? B4. But rook A5 is tricky, and there's definitely ways to mess this up.
and B4, A5, okay, 6. It's the only real obvious move. I mean, everything else, yeah, I can play knight
Well, the
C6.
not obvious move way is after B4, rook A5
Right.
is really tricky, but knight D7 is apparently just winning.
Just defending C5, but like I mean, I'm just saying like B4 is the first move you look at in that position. I think like this is the first move that has to come to your mind right here.
An idea could be B4, um, Manch. However, after takes here,
Yeah,
takes here, king D1,
and I think you're in time to stop the pawn.
you're in time.
Yeah,
So that's what he could be afraid of right now. Oh, he played B4. What did Miles play in return? Did he not play it? Oh, he played rook A6, king B7. Now rook E6.
Rook e6, the knight c6 line. Yeah.
Right, what happened? Oh,
That happened.
this. I'm gonna promote this line because that's what happened so far.
Okay.
Only -1. I want to check on this game because.
What? Okay.
What happened? Uh, they played Queen B1, Queen B2, and they allowed Queen E5. Now F7, Queen E8, Queen F8's a threat, and I don't think you can really stop it really easily. This is winning, and this holds because of F8. However, Knight G3. I don't even understand the reason behind this move, but if Queen D6, Knight E4, apparently, if takes, then E6, E7 is completely crushing.
Yeah. Pawns
Whoa.
are fast and they're fast. Yeah. Can't really
And
stop you.
and there's not that much you can do because 94 is incoming no matter what. If you go here, check king to G1 and you're somehow safe. I don't even understand. Um you could even try Queen H6, but D5, the pawns go. And you can't give check or like wait or something. You can't do something like this because Queen E6, and then I can repeat, but like I'll eventually just play knight e4 and stop you from checking me.
Yeah.
Taking loses to Queen E6 and then Queen E8 just attacking you. Oh,
Yeah. It's,
I mean Queen E, I
G6.
mean
Queen H6.
E6 is apparently check horse mate.
Oh, yeah, you have that pawn
Wow,
too. Okay.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, we gotta watch this later. We gotta see this game. Oh, oh, what happened? What happened? Oh, he played Bishop E5. This endgame's losing because the pawns aren't fast. Well, the pawns don't match up. Like the pawns aren't protected past pawns. The two pawns are not worth the same.
No. No,
However,
black's pawns are much better.
yeah. However, I mean, yeah. Obviously, King B5 is the right move. However, if Dane gets a little too hasty, all of a sudden after King C4, C5 might fall.
Yeah.
It's not happening, but it might.
Yeah. Something I might play in time pressure. Just to try to get some time, play a check. But I don't think Dane's gonna
Miles
do
has
that.
19 seconds left. He will play King D3, and then probably, yep.
But Dane is not in time pressure, so there's no reason he's gonna play that move.
Yeah.
I
Or he
don't.
misevaluates the position.
I don't think he's gonna allow King C4. There's no way. King B5. I think he's gonna be played pretty soon. Yep.
Apparently, after F4, the engine says it's only 0.4 advantage.
Well, wait. What was the best move for Black then?
It was King B5, but after King D3, it realized that it's only a 0.4 edge. Miles, however,
Hmm.
played Rook E7. C4, Rook A8. Uh-oh. That's not good. I mean, to be fair, Rook E7 makes a lot of sense. But I wouldn't put the Rook on
Yes.
5. I mean, ouch, that hurts. Ooh, they played Rook D8 check and not C4. So, okay. It might be playing. I mean, King C4 makes sense. But, I mean, yeah, King C4 is definitely the right way to go about this position. If you take B3 check and Rook D2 and you lose. So, yeah. Oh, and now Rook A8. Miles might be getting let back into the game. Not good. Let's look at the Michael Basil game because Andy could have messed up. Oh wow! He played f7 check. He did not see knight g3. Now, to be fair, knight g3 is really hard to see.
Okay, so
But
check. Well,
this looks still pretty good for white.
no, there's a little blockade at least for the f8 square is guarded, so no.
Yeah, I mean this, but queen e5 check. So, I mean queen e7 here. I mean knight f4. I mean queen takes h4 check, but like it's still a draw, and knight e6 is a threat. Now there is queen h1, but if you don't play the right move, then you can lose. So, however, depends on what goes on. Mistakes can be made. Mistakes probably shouldn't happen. I don't know. Miles is down to a minute. Uh-oh.
Okay, king c4 was played.
So yeah, they played. So what happened after rook a8? Takes king. Oh, rook d8 check king c2. Now there's no check.
Okay, so now, yeah, h7. Oh, it's white's move. Okay, so it's rook takes h7, b3. Pawn's just gonna promote.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to play the line, yeah, okay, rook h7 happens.
And then is b3 first.
Wow, this is game of the week. We have to make this in another video.
I don't think we do game of the week anymore.
Oh wow, okay.
Nah, haven't. Oh, yeah, b3
Apparently, if rook a2 check happens, it's only a draw after king d1 because of the h and g pawns. I don't want to know. Oh my
Oh
god.
no.
Okay. What is going to be played? Because king b1 loses, and king c1 also loses. No! What is happening?
Oh well, that's the most obvious move though.
Yeah, it's definitely the most tempting. And you don't have much time, so it makes the most sense. But that's so painful. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have. I mean, I wouldn't have played King D1 in Miles's shoes, but like King C3, Rook D1, Rook B2.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
king c3 is just it's pretty clear now. So there's no way.
Because you're
I think
threatening
at
Rook
this point, I think there
F1,
should be
B3,
no way.
King Rook A1.
King c3 and where is your king going?
My rook's going down to D1. You get a check, and after King C1, you just play C4, and I can't move.
Yeah, c4, e3.
I feel like your pawn on E3 is in the way for any checks incoming. Like, it's winning. But yeah. I mean, Rook F1 check seems the most right, but they'll just put King B2 and force the check again.
Yeah.
Which King back to B1 will be played. So, yeah. Well, let's look at this game because it's a draw still. It's for Spain. I figured something like this would happen. No moves, 96 incoming.
Wow.
Well, that's that, I guess.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I mean,
knight
a
e6.
funny move after this would be King F3 because there's no way to save himself. But takes, obviously. Here, 96.
Oops.
Blah, 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 blah. Take the queen. You can resign after knight f4. There are no moves that you can make that stop 96. Almost no moves, period.
Yeah, that was a slugfest. I mean, this game was back and forth.
Yeah. Well, these games have been decided almost
I think Black almost got a little bit ambitious and started playing for a win.
in the game four.
The Hordelos Basel game.
Yeah, he did. There was no way, there was no chance he was winning that. But I mean, everyone wants to win, doesn't mean it's happening.
Yes, I admire the fighting spirit.
So unfortunate though, you're losing. So yeah, I think that's over. Nothing. There are basically no ways for my Andy to lose this other than playing like Queen E7.
Well, I think we can discount that happening.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and this game is also basically over. I think it's
So
getting a bit late for me. Yeah, now it's minus 34.
Dane's still
I want to kick up the depth, but right now something Zoom is in a little bit of the way. Um, let's pick up the hmm, never mind. I don't know how to. Well, that's fine. I'm a bit tired. Um, I do have school tomorrow, so if I could leave, that'd be nice.
yeah, I can just stay on until the game's finished.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be right. That'd be okay, right, Chris?
I'll just watch this game between Miles and Dane since the other one's a force mate.
Yeah. Okay. Um, that sounds good. Bye guys.
That
Wait.
one's
If I
over.
do leave though, if I do leave, then I would stop screen share. I'll just stick around, I guess.
It looks like Andres did win against Michael.
Oh, yeah, that did happen.
This
I
one's
guess, yeah. I mean, they resigned after night of four. Nothing you can do.
now. Yep. And Miles versus Dane is the last game still going.
It has 30 minutes,
Dane,
and he probably won't find it out, right?
no, Dane's just looking for the most accurate way to put the knife in and really.
Yeah, I am getting a bit tired, Chris. I have to say that I do have school tomorrow, and I'd like to leave, but unfortunately, when I leave, I would stop screen share.
Let me see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the one game,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, it's just that one.
Bye, guys. I'm gonna stop my screen share.
It was played by Dane. Yeah, this looks pretty decisive. So now, just look at some possible variations. All right, so if Rook C7 be played, is a possibility. What else would be? Okay, so Miles played G6, starting to push his own pawn. And now there's opportunity for Dane to just ignore it and play King C3, threatening, well, basically threatening mate with mate and two. And aren't really any good checks after that, so likely would have to come back with his rook to D1. Otherwise, if he moves his king to try to escape the mate, it's still mate because the king on C3 is blocking off the B2 and the D2 squares. So yeah, king c3, and what does white do? It's really not much to do in that situation. I think probably just rook d1. That's rook d1 is possible, but let me see if there's anything else. Even just want to look at some variations. Let me just prepare b2, rook c2. Oop, what happened? Okay, so this is the current position. But yeah, I think king c3 will probably be played. Yeah, rook d1. So the idea is to move the king over one square first. Yep. b2 checking a1, and now come back and defend this pawn now. So you have to spend a tempo playing h5 or something to defend this pawn. Is it okay? Check, just come around very threatening. b2 check. Now you just start pushing. Yeah. So that's just a move to get the king a little bit away from the center before you stop the g pawn from pushing. Okay. So b2 is a little premature. It looks like that is not where the game is right now. Let's go back to the game. Where is the game? So okay, the game is here. So looks like what happened? Ah, 1 second. Oh no. e3, g6. Okay, and rook. So rook to g2 was played immediately instead of king c3 now. And then h5 was played by Miles. And then rook to g5. Okay, so so now after rook to d1. Okay, so I think black just needed to focus on their own pawns, just moving the king away, maybe to b4 and like, pushing c4, c3. But the way that this is set up, rook d1 looks like white's okay, and Miles found rook d1. Wow, and okay. I'm just gonna look at this line a bit. Rook takes h5, check. And then, wow, and white has time to come around with rook g1 and start pushing. And black will have to come around with the rook and put the rook on g8. Let's see what else they can do. Yep, that's the only thing. Yep. And now, looking at the engine, this is just giving all zeros. So if this is played accurately from Miles under time pressure, then yeah, and then Miles will be able to hold a draw in this position. Wow. These rook endings are so tricky. I mean, the ones that are objectively winning, they're not really winning until you win. It's very easy to ruin a rook ending that's winning. There are just so many tricks, different, like especially drawing tricks. In rook endings, there are many, many drawing tricks. like tricks that just somehow hold a draw with the skin of your teeth, and those happen constantly. Always have to watch out for those. Let's go back to the game. So rook g2. Oh, what? King b4. Oh my gosh. Now rook h1. Because Dane's king is far away, it's hard to stop those pawns now. This is winning for white now. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let's go back. Okay, look here. c4. And this happened in the game. Wow. Yeah. And how do you stop that h pawn? You take, you just push, and those two pawns just not going to break through, since white's king is close enough to stop the promotion square. And you'll always be able to control b2. Can never push the king away. You'll always have that square on b2. Even after you can go king a3, but at that point you can even maybe play rook a2 and just sack whenever c4 happens. Take sack for the pawn, and then you would still have that passed e pawn, and you can win the king and pawn ending with the e3 pawn. And now Dane's thinking. Miles has played this game very well under time pressure, I have to say. Even though Dane was winning for pretty much that whole endgame, Miles played fantastic under time pressure. Very resourceful idea at the end, and yeah, it wasn't that obvious. I mean, King C3, I think, would have put the nail in the coffin if Dane would have played that, but that's not an obvious move to play either. Like nothing was obvious. Like what he played was also one of the candidate moves, and it just ended up being concretely not as good as King C3. It's not easy to see. Let's see. So just gonna sit and wait for a little bit. Yep, just going to watch this last game. Big turnaround in this game. Oh yeah, chess is really cool. I've learned my lesson on that. Okay, no, I mean I can finish the broadcast. Okay, so Dane played c3, but now after h7, uh, yeah, just promoting. And I'm sure Miles, yep, Miles plays h7. Rook b2. Okay, I'm sorry, rook g2, I should say. But there aren't any immediate threats right now, so Miles can promote because none of the checks are really doing anything. C2 check, king b2, promote. You can just take with a king. Yeah, check. King c1. Yeah, king c1, and then if you check again on c2, you can go to d1. Check again on d2. Go to e1, and then, well, you can push. Push b2, I guess, to threaten to promote, but white already has a queen and can come behind, come over to e8, and yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, and now queen b8 is be played, just stopping that pawn from promoting after the king moves. And well, I mean, it's has to be mate here as well, but even if a mate is not found, that pawn isn't going to promote, and white's just going to be up a queen. Chess is really cruel. It's a really cruel game. I would now like constantly get swindled or swindle other people. Like I did not deserve to win that game last week at all. And honestly, a lot of games that I've played recently have gone that way. Just either swindling, completely losing positions, or losing positions that I would think I was able to win when I was like 1100, but somehow I lose them when I'm 1900 or 2000. Just happens. Yeah, check, and then king moves somewhere. H6, I guess. Or, I mean, not H6, A3. King to A3, king to A4. King H7 is forced. Only real move not to get mated. Well, I guess you could promote and then lose that pawn. Yeah, King H7. Now if you give the check. Yeah, King. The G7 is just pretty cruel. Just let him promote, sack the queen, and then make another queen, and that's it. I mean, that's probably the easiest. Why not? And if you don't promote, it's you're going to promote as check with white. Okay, but give the check in H4. I thought G7 is just very clean, but now I guess rook F4. Yeah, because if you get C2, all of a sudden it's a little scary. Queen G6. Okay. Okay, so push the C pawn, C2, and then under. I mean, at that point, you can. Okay, you can play rook f4. Yeah, sure. Well, you kind of have to play rook f4. Bro, just sack. You sack, and black has to take with the king. What? Wait a minute, what happened? Oh, he took the rook. Thought if he comes here, he can sack, and then when you take with the king, you have this check 3. It's not 100% clear. What happened? Okay, so he allowed Dane to. Oh my gosh, this game is just up and down, and now somehow there's a perpetual. Uh, oh, classic, classic stalemate trick. Wow, wow. And now I can just take the rook. Wow. This game. Yeah, both of these players are going to be pretty surprised when they go and look over this game later. I mean, still, Miles did a good job defending under time pressure, finding some only moves. Dane did a great job early on. He was a little bit he was in some trouble early on with a knight c6 knight sack from Miles, and then was able to create lots of counterplay, being down the exchange with a knight c5 resource. So yeah. All right, and now so Miles is pushing g7, and now I think Dane will probably give a check and f5 and start going for perpetual, or try to pick up that pawn with the fork. Try to force the king to go to a square where you can either check the king and pick up the pawn on g7. You know, this game heading toward a draw. A draw is the one result I didn't think was going to happen out of this game. Somebody always looked like they were winning or losing, but looks like this may be headed towards a draw. I don't want to say anything yet because I thought one side was just clearly winning multiple times, and then things happened. That's chess. Things happen. They just happen, and can't do anything about it. I always tell myself that the chess is cruel. Things are going to happen. Then when things happen, I still get upset about it because emotional. Although I don't know. I think it's normal. Just getting upset if you're losing a winning position. That's normal. But drawing a winning position it's also cause for concern. devastation. Maybe not as much devastation as losing a position, but still, I don't want to draw those positions that you're clearly winning. You know that you're winning. Okay, and yeah, Queen F5 was played, and Dane is probably going to start looking for a way to get a draw here. I don't think he has any winning chances. I mean, definitely not. Yep, and there we go. Queen G4. Yep. Queen G4, and then now, I mean, you can always just pick up that pawn on G7. And with that pawn gone, it's going to be a draw in a matter of time. Although here, yeah, give a perpetual or something, but yeah, I can just take the pawn for now. I mean, now Miles has a perpetual in hand if he wants. You might go for it. Yeah, because at this point, there aren't any winning chances left. So, yeah, check. Then, okay, well, King H7 is forced. And we're going to have another check. D1. That'll be a signal that this game is going to be a draw by threefold repetition. We'll see what Miles chooses to do here. Just. All right, Queen D1 played, and King H7 is forced, and then Queen H5. Or sorry, Queen A4. I'm a little blind now. I'm tired. Queen A4, Queen D1. Queen A4, Queen D1 is going to happen. Well, Dane doesn't have a choice. He needs to go King H7 here. Or King A2. I keep saying King H7. King A2, yes. Oh, looks like the game has been agreed on. You draw. Yeah, very well fought game by both players. Very well fought to the bitter end. That game right there. That's the definition of a fighting draw. That right there is a fighting draw. I don't think either player really wanted a draw. I think both of them were winning at one point, and they were both playing for a win. But it ended as a draw. I don't want to say that it's the rightful result when both players are winning. I mean, I know some people say that. I really don't like that saying. I don't think that that's a really good saying, honestly, that it's the rightful result when both people are winning. I think the rightful result is usually the player that has played the best most of the game. But the rightful result, I think, for this game would be well, whatever happened in the end, honestly. So since the draw happened in the end, I guess we can say it's the rightful result here, and that's really the only reason it would be the right result. Well, I would be happy to talk to these players about this game afterwards, just to see what exactly they saw and what tactics they were looking at, what they were spending time on. It'd be really interesting to see that. But well, this game wraps up the stream. All the other games have finished. We can just do a quick review of some of these games. And, let's just start from the last board. Who do we have? Scott Gilbertson won with white against Sawyer Seelinger. This was the final position right here. And then Srijan Vaidyanathan won as black against Steven Rosaitis. This was the final position. Jeremy Kylor won as black versus John Baker. And this was the final position. Andres Hortolosa winning as white versus Michael Battle in a very also up and down game. Very fun to watch. This game right here, this is the final position. Robert Donahue winning versus Norm Myron. This was the final position. Robert, like usual, playing a very entertaining opening. And then Miles Tisserand drawing against Dane Zagar in a very up and down, exciting barn burner of a game for the ages, a game where I think this would have been game of the week if we still had game of the week going on. 100% this should have been game of the week. This was the final position where they agreed to a draw. And on board one, we had Nate Hoover winning as black versus Ronan Agam. And the final position was right here. This was the final position. Okay, very good. Yeah, and Nate played very well this game as well. The knight g2 find was very nice. So, yep, and I think that will wrap up the stream for tonight. We will see you next Thursday. You're not going to see me. I think I'm going to be playing next week, but you will see Chris and whoever else Chris has planned to be on the stream with him. Well, thank you very much, and good night.